Hi, this is Andrew from Online Athens and the Athens Banner Herald. I haven't done a video in a while because I wasn't inspired to, but it's October and that means it's spooky season, and that means horror movies, and that means guys who look like me, middle-aged white guys, are going to have opinions about horror movies, and especially when it comes to remakes of horror movies. And I used to think that once we all died off, you would stop hearing about this kind of thing. But I think it's going to continue for the foreseeable future, even after we're gone. People just don't like the idea of something being remade. In fact, some things suddenly become a classic and are these perfect things in a glass case just because they're being remade. And people can tend to be like delusional or have a selective memory about how good they were, and they can also just be like fingers and ears, la 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 la, about seeing the new versions while probably being fascinated by them and just not wanting anyone to know about it. I'm not that sort of horror movie fan. Because I'm a journalist, I tend to deal in facts and logic rather than just fold my arms and go, that's the way it is, because the 80s and John Carpenter and... So I thought, let's put my movie library at home here in a really kind of jumbled up way, just to talk about the fact that I collect horror movies and horror movie remakes, and they're all ones that I enjoy. Otherwise, I wouldn't buy them. And there are some horror remakes that I don't have, but there are some that I have that might surprise you. But the whole point of all of this is to just be realistic and dispel a few rumors. First rumor is that somehow a remake of a movie does something to diminish or erase the source material. Here's a fact for you. Horror movies would not exist if stories were not told and retold and retold and retold. Because back before there was film, back before there were books, back before people could even write, they were telling scary stories. And the way that these stories lived and grew and changed was all because other people were telling them. I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it. It's the truth. So let's take a look. I want to dispel a very quick rumor right away. Let's just take any of these movies for an example. Let's look at a classic, Night of the Living Dead by George Romero. Recently got a really nice Blu-ray of the 1990 remake of the movie. Did that erase Night of the Living Dead? Or replace it somehow? Let's see. Well, this movie seems to be in its own packaging, although it's a steelbook, which I can't stand really, because what is this? You can't put it inside of the case. It's just a... Let's put it there. Okay, Night of the Living Dead does exist as a remake, 1990. It's in that case. Now let's see if the original George Romero Night of the Living Dead is disappeared somehow, because that version exists. Let's see. And a name you trust, the Criterion Collection. Is this empty? No, it's not. Night of the Living Dead 1968 is still here. So the fact that this remake was done and exists looks like it didn't really do anything. And is this like something that's an ancient relic that's been hidden away? No. In fact, This is more widely available than this. And there's another horror movie that I can think of right away that is harder to find in its remake form than its original form. Where is that? That would be Nightmare on Elm Street. Where are you, Nightmare on Elm Street? Look at that, I did this and then I can't find anything. Here we go. So, the one we all know, 1984, Wes Craven, Nightmare on Elm Street. Another, I would, you know, if you could just fold this up and put it inside of here. Anyway, so this exists, and it's not hard to find. And right now, all the entire Nightmare on Elm Street series are available on streaming. I bought digital licenses, not digital copies, because we all know that doesn't really exist. That's the big lie, right? $20 for 7 Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Did not include... What year was this? 2010? Yeah, so in 2010, they remade A Nightmare on Elm Street. And did it cause this to vanish? No. Trust me, it's in there. This is actually harder to find. Let's not act like the original Nightmare on Elm Street was pristine and didn't have problems. Have you seen the ending shot where the mom is pulled through the door and one of the worst dummies in cinematic history goes through it? It was tacked on. I don't think Wes Craven was even there when they filmed it. He really didn't like it. So, for your perfect movie. This obviously has some things in it I love. Like the backstory for Freddy being shown cinematically always makes my heart pound. But no, the CGI, not so great. And that's just the way things are. Will they make it again? I'm sure that they will. Because it's a great story, right? I could make this whole video about the Elm Street series and how I think the best movie about Freddy Krueger, the character, and the story has yet to be done. I have some remakes of movies that people don't even know the movie at all. Like the Italian horror classic Stage Fright was remade. Have you heard of even this? They're both good, but you see what I'm saying? All right. So let's check out one that most people agree on is great. Let's take a look. Nosferatu, right? You know why there weren't a lot of people saying, "Oh no, don't make Nosferatu, you can't do it, it's blasphemy, a terrible movie, I refuse to go see it." Because this was made in like 1920s. And like most of the people that like watched this probably are dead now. You know what I mean? Or like don't care because like here's a great retelling of a great story. Silent film, sound film, black and white film, color film, German language film, English language film. You know what I mean? They're different, and yet you can love them both. If you're staying with me on this whole video, here's what I'm gonna do, man. I'm gonna go through some of my favorites, and we're just gonna talk about them. But I want to get the stuff through at the very beginning that's maybe gonna make people a little mad. Child's Play remake, I think, is a superior movie to the original. I just do. I think it's funnier, and I think it is scarier, and I think it's the effects are better, and honestly, more plausible for today. Doesn't mean Child's Play is not a classic. Also means this could be a classic too. Let's not act like Child's Play was the first movie about a talking doll that killed people. Another one, Psycho by Gus Van Sant, one of the most hated horror remakes of all time. Why do I have it? It is incredible as a production alone. The way that they did, shot for shot, pretty much, the Alfred Hitchcock classic from 1960 starring Anthony Perkins. How do I know that? It's because I love movies. I love horror movies. Doesn't mean that I instantly hate someone retelling a story. It means that I love movies. Fans are people who like things. So there's that one. And how about this, Wrong Turn? Did anyone see this? The remake of Wrong Turn? It is better than the original Wrong Turn and all the other Wrong Turns combined. And this is coming from a person who saw the first two Wrong Turns in the theater and has watched all of them. I'm partial to parts 2, 4, and 6. But this remake is just a great movie by itself. They rewrote the story and took it in a different direction, and I just loved it. I loved it enough to buy it. Do I own the other Wrong Turns? Yes. A nifty pack of all of them. Rob Zombie Halloween? Well, is it a great movie? If you like people cussing at each other constantly, you're not going to like most of Rob Zombie's movies. I think his movie about the Munsters from the old classic TV show is my favorite thing that he's done. I also love Lords of Salem. If you get the 2-disc versions of this or Halloween 2, which I like more than this one, Rob Zombie did a sequel that I thought was superior. Again, a movie a lot of people didn't like. The making of documentaries that are attached to these movies that they include on the discs, they are some of the best behind-the-scenes documentaries ever done. I like watching them maybe a little more than watching the actual movies. What else do we have here? Maniac, I like better than the original Maniac. This is the one with Elijah Wood. A lot of people don't remember that this was remade. And the big focus was about the music, which is brilliant. But the movie is really, really cool too. I'm not precious about some of what we consider to be classic movies. I'm not a big slasher guy. I'm not a fan of seeing women taken apart on screen. You can imagine I'm not a big Terrifier fan because of that. But when a movie's great. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we might as well get into some of these where there's multiple versions of Bob Clark's Black Christmas, right? Great movie with some great performances. So they remade it. 2006, the X-Files folks remade it. This movie was called Black Xmas instead. It was made during what some people call the torture horror era of movies like Hostel and Saw and House of 1,000 Corpses and things like that. So movies were getting gorier and more violent and more graphic, and the censor board was a lot more lenient on them. So this is the gory version of Black Christmas. If you want one that's full of blood and just quick cut editing and things like that, this is the one you want to watch. But which one is my favorite? This is maybe the turn off the video moment, if 15 minutes of me wasn't already enough for you. Sophie Tuchal's Black Christmas, PG-13. This is like the feminist version. It was great gateway horror for my kid, who's in the preteen years, like 11 years old, 12 years old, loves this version of Black Christmas. Would they have sat down for one of these? Probably not. It's another reason why it is great to have these stories retold, because some people prefer the modern style. Some people prefer a modern voice. And will it make them curious about the other versions? It did me when I was a kid, because guess what I saw first? I went to this with my dad and my uncle, who had seen the original Night of the Living Dead when it came out, together in the 1960s when they were kids. I went to see this with them. They loved it. They didn't sit there and go, oh, this is terrible. They should have never done this. Blasphemy. We went home and we watched the original Night of the Living Dead after it. Scared the crap out of me. I always thought black and white movies were corny. That one was absolutely not. Let's take a look at something else that I think is has. I don't even think the best version of this movie has even been made yet. Let's take a look at Carrie, Stephen King's story. So, told once. It was about a heavyset girl, high school student, who suddenly gets telekinetic powers. And so they did a version in the 1970s. Brian De Palma did this, and it's great. But we still had a thin Carrie, which is not quite true to the book. Then we got this movie, which was made in the 2000s at some point, starring Angela Bettis from the great film May in the role of Carrie. Some things about it I liked more. It's kind of low budget, so the effects weren't great. Didn't destroy the original Carrie, and unfortunately still had a thin Carrie. Then we get to, I don't know when this version came out. This is my favorite version so far, because they had really the effects budget to show the whole story. Unfortunately, as much as I love Chloe Grace Moretz, another non-chubby Carrie. I've heard that they are going to release a TV miniseries, and it's going to be like the most faithful adaptation of the book to date. Still has a thin Carrie. So yeah, the best version of Carrie still doesn't exist, and it sounds like it's not going to exist anytime soon. Sorry to all those who hate hearing the facts, but that's a fact. Let's look at some more things. Oh, not only does the original The Fly still exist, and the remake from 1986 exists, but they're all in the same set. Look, they live together. They're happy. Look, you got The Fly. You got the original Fly. They're together. They're friends. See, if you're a fan, this is what you get, because you know that the Return of the Fly and The Fly 2 are basically Son of the Fly. Just different type stories, but they involve the offspring of the original character. Then you got Low Key, as the kids say, the best Fly movie, which has nothing to do with any of the other ones. The Curse of the Fly. That's my favorite. Best opening scene of like many black and white horror movies of its era. It's got one of the best. You don't have to take my word for it. What else do we have here? Oh, you know what else is friends with the remake? Oh, help me with my back. Oh. Friday the 13th, right? This is what all the 80s horror fans point to as, like, you know, one of the classics. Look at all of Jason's adventures. Well, his mom really has the adventure in part 1, doesn't she? But we go through all these sequels, and when I was a kid, people thought sequels were crap. They were just like, what's with all the sequels? No original ideas in Hollywood. Y'all, and when I say y'all, I mean guys like my age that look like me. Most of them have beards for some reason, though. I don't have the beard. But they're the ones that like to say, remake, reboot. Where's the original idea? Where's the originality? Mish Wook. How many different things he even went to space? let's not act like all these were gems, just like with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I think the Nightmare on Elm Street remake is better than some of the sequels. Better than most of the sequels. Here we have... Uh-oh. Welcome to Crystal Lake. So in this remake, we got the Friday the 13th experience. They threw in everything that people love about Jason, including him being in Friday the 13th, which, if you're going back to the original Friday the 13th movie, it's great. But you don't get Jason, like, you know, the hockey mask and all. You don't even get the hockey mask in part 2. So, why is this in the set? Isn't it awful? Don't we hate it? No. I think it's better than the original. Why? 2 words. Topless skiing. Let's just set this back up. Oh, who's this? This is The Thing. Acts like this isn't a remake. This is actually a prequel to the John Carpenter Thing. Want to know what happened before they got there? To that, all those men got there? A woman was actually there first. But yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing is near universally regarded as the greatest horror remake of all time. Uh-oh. It is a remake. I've had people say, I hate remakes, I don't even watch them. And I go, you've never seen Carpenter's The Thing? There's people whose name their beard Carpenter's The Thing. So I go, what about The Thing from Another World? And they're like, no. Carpenter remade Who Goes There? By Joseph Conrad? Yeah, what was his book? I don't know. I don't even know what it was. Anyway, it was a story called Who Goes There? It's an adaptation of the original book. So it's not a remake. You know what's the best one of all? Despite the CGI that replaced the practical effects, I watched this one the most. You know what? The reason why I don't watch Carpenter's The Thing more is because of those dudes. Y'all maybe not like it as much. Stop being a turd about stuff. The more of a turd you are about movies, the less likely people are to watch. You ever know that person that they're like, you haven't seen da-da-da? What's wrong with you? It's like, now I don't want to see it. Thanks. Oh no. Dario Argento, we love you. The Giallo Master. Suspiria. Everyone considers Suspiria a masterpiece. It was remade. People were so mad. But most of them had to admit, this is a great movie. And also, did its existence destroy Suspiria's existence? Let's do a check now. We've seen a lot of questionable cases in this video. So there's the Blu-ray of Suspiria. Dakota Johnson, Tilda Swinton, Mia Goth, Chloe Grace Moretz from Carrie. But did it make the original Suspiria disappear? Andrew, why do you have both of these? I'll tell you. Because I love both of these movies. Look at me as I'm putting stuff back too. I'm not editing any of this. I'm also not looking forward to putting my whole collection back together. Oh, we got a few more. Let's see. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yes. I have the original of that somewhere. This is a remake. Let's see. What else? Oh, there's another INV. Invaders from Mars. Tobe Hooper director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, made Invaders from Mars. So that makes me think about happy birthday, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You turned very old last year. Oh no, a remake. The cinematographer for one of the most successful independent horror films of all time, 1974. Also was the cinematographer for the remake that was done in 2003. Daniel Pearl is his name. Can you imagine getting the chance to go back with all this money, equipment, and experience decades later and shoot your movie again? It's a great opportunity and a lot of fun to watch. There's still no massacre in it, just like there's no massacre in this one. To get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you gotta watch the one on Netflix. That's right. People hate that, but it's logic. It exists. It's the truth. Oh no, we've got a slumber. Here's something people didn't like. Slumber Party Massacre. Directed by a woman, Amy Holden Jones. Back here it says it, Amy Jones. I don't know what she goes by. Slumber Party Massacre. What happened, Slumber Party Massacre? Uh-oh. It was remade. And people were so mad because they put a black person in it. Also directed by a woman. Kind of like with Black Christmas. That's one that a kid will watch instead of, the old version. Oh, speaking of old versions, what do we have here? This is the story of a 38-year-old man who's still in high school when when a blob comes to town and a big thing of raspberry jam. Really. Classic. Released by the Criterion Collection. One of the greatest movie theme songs of all time. Beware of the Blob. Remake. 1988. Chuck Russell. Director of Nightmare on Elm Street 3. The special effects in this are great. You got Shawnee Smith and Kevin Dillon. Incredible. A rare on-screen appearance of Del Close, who wrote Truth and Comedy. This is a great, great movie. And Kevin Dillon appears to be the same age, roughly, as his friends in this movie. So, is it better? It exists. You can... Whichever blob you like is the blob that you like. I happen to like both. Oh boy. We also have Dawn of the Dead, the Snyder Cut. Love Dawn of the Dead. People were mad, but now this is considered, along with that Texas Chainsaw, to be one of the best horror remakes ever done. Do I have the original Dawn of the Dead? Yes, it's a classic. Why wouldn't I? Speaking of dead, oh, the most grueling experience in cinematic terror, The Evil Dead. I was so sick of the fandom for Evil Dead being the fandom for the character Ash Williams. Bruce Campbell is a wonderful actor, a great entertainer, and these are formative movies for me. However, as I got older, it seemed like the fandom for Ash was eclipsing the horror roots of Evil Dead. So what did they do? Bam! They remade Evil Dead in 2013. And this is the best Evil Dead movie that exists. I like Evil Dead Rise also, but Fede Alvarez, he brought Evil Dead back to being a horror movie rather than the Ash Williams show. If you want the Ash Williams show, they made one. They made a TV series. Knock yourself out. Me, this is just one of my favorite movies, period. In fact, I don't think I've watched the original Evil Dead since this came out. Just really as a fan, lifelong fan of these. So did it for me. Still with me? We got more. We got a couple from Dark Castle. Oh, there's Dawn of the Dead. Oh, wait a minute. They exist together. Dawn of the Dead remake and the original Dawn of the Dead. There it is. We have House of Wax starring Vincent Price in 3D. Unfortunately, I never had a 3D TV or a 3D Blu-ray player to watch it. Do you? House of Wax. So good. So good. Paris Hilton, who people made fun of at the time, and we're going, I'll go see House of Wax remake just to see Paris Hilton die. That's disturbing. However, Paris Hilton, as much as I enjoy all the performances in this movie, I think Paris was the only person in the cast that really 100% understood the assignment, as they say. The performance she gives, has a keen awareness of what this movie called for. She really, really did it. And I personally think she should have been in a lot more horror movies. She was the standout cast member. To this day, I love watching this because of her performance. We also have another William Castle remake, House on Haunted Hill. So good. And you know, I love the original House on Haunted Hill. I have in my collection two big box sets of William Castle movies. I even have some of the weird ones that nobody remembers. I Saw What You Did, Shanks. I love those too. This is an outstanding movie. Yeah, bad CGI, but that's going to come up a lot. But it's still a retelling of a great story and some great back and forth between Famke Janssen, who was a horror queen if there ever was one, having the back and forth with their husband, played by accused sex pest Jeffrey Rush, right? Let's see. Oh, we're getting down to some of the big ones here. Saving my favorite for last. What do we got? We got a little Piranha. Joe Dante classic, Roger Corman. Then we got Piranha, which was released in 3D, and that I did see, and that was incredible 3D. I went back to it twice. This was Alexander Aja, who had done High Tension, and this was so... The massacre scene on the beach, you want to talk about massacre? That scene on the beach where the piranha are just tearing up everybody, that's gory classic. I mean, that was in the theaters in 3D here. That was something else right there. And so, we're getting close to it. Another one that I just read, somebody put on Threads, it was so disturbing they would never watch it again or recommend it to someone, is Aja's remake, The Hills Have Eyes. This was his first movie after he made High Tension. This is, of course, a remake of Wes Craven's classic, The Hills Have Eyes, from the 70s. Hi. Wes Craven was a producer on me during his lifetime. He also produced a sequel to this remake. The Hills Have Eyes exists and is great. The Hills Have Eyes remake exists and is also really great. It is brutal. It is rough. I mean, I'm not sure what scene that person on Threads was talking about that just did it for them and made them just like disturbed to no end, but I can only assume it had something to do with when Robert Joy, cannibal, points a pistol at the baby. I mean, it was intense. Let's see what else we got. Oh, and yeah. Let's saving the best for last. The late, great Tony Todd, who famously beat Lawrence Fishburne to get the role of Ben in Tom Savini's 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead, which, by the way, George Romero wrote the script for. Bernard Rose, classic film. There were 2 sequels. What's the thing all 3 of those had in common? Let's be real. All 3 Candyman movies were about white women. They weren't about Daniel Robitaille. What's a movie that was about Candyman? Nia DaCosta's Candyman, 2021. This is one of my most anticipated movies ever. I loved Candyman before it was a movie. I loved Candyman when it was a story by Clive Barker called The Forbidden. That was in the Flesh compilation book of short stories that I read when I was still in, I think I was in junior high school. And I did a book report on it. So I was like, for Candyman, I was so there when this came out. And I loved this movie. Loved it. I even have the sequels back then there. Why? Because I love Tony Todd. I had the opportunity to meet him a couple times when he was on the horror convention circuit for many years. My favorite memory of Tony Todd was when I got to the convention. I'm wearing a Blackula t-shirt. I see Tony Todd, and he starts walking toward me like this. And I'm like, there's no way he's looking at me. I keep looking behind me like there's someone else that's no one. He is doing this, and as he gets closer, I see he's got a Blackula t-shirt on. High five. Of course, by the time he touched my hand, I'd forgotten what I was wearing. And we'd start to talk about Blackula. Which Wes Craven sort of remade as Vampire in Brooklyn, a movie I also love. Got that there. Candyman 2021 is a masterpiece. Nia DaCosta was a director I already knew because I liked her film Little Woods. I also have a copy of The Marvels, and cannot wait to see her new movie. And so, let's put it this way. Better than the original. For the simple reason that they finally tell this guy's story. I think it's better than Clive Barker's original story. And that's just one example of the way stories change over time, depending on who tells them. But they also live. You go back far enough, we don't know who told the original stories. They're not written down. Whoever got credit eventually got credit. However, because of film, we're able to see where a lot of these came from. We just put the first movie on. And we do what I've just been doing for the last 40 minutes. We talk about it. We talk about the things that they changed that we liked. We think about the things that didn't work out so well. And we talk about the fact that these stories will outlive us. The great stories will outlive us. There are going to be Dracula movies long after I'm gone, long after you're gone. And I am a little sad that I won't get to see all of those. But never will you hear me disparage horror remakes. They are what keeps my favorite category of movie alive and relevant and inspiring. A lot of new stuff that would otherwise not exist.